I'm not ready to tell my father. I think I need to work my way up to it. Maybe I'll start by telling you. It's the summer of 2004 and I'm 15. My parents are separated, but things are good. And my younger brother and I are on holidays with my dad. While we're there, my flip phone ran out of minutes. It's classic. So I asked my dad if I can use his credit card to recharge it, and he says yes. So I call the provider, input the card numbers, and when I'm done, they ask if I want a code, so I don't have to go through that whole thing next time I need to recharge. But there's not going to be a next time, so I press 2 for no, and I hang up. Of course, a few days later, I've used my phone too much, and once again, I've used all my minutes. So I go up to my dad, and I ask him if I can use this card a second time. Now here's something you gotta understand. My brother and I never really enjoyed going to spend weekends or holidays with my dad. At my mom's, we had a big house, a nice garden, an older brother and sister. But at my dad's, it was just the 3 of us in a small apartment. And I think my dad always knew how we felt, and so he always tried to make us feel happy however he could. So I don't really remember what he said exactly that day, but he did give me his card again, and so there I was calling that number a second time. And everything went the same. Except this time, when they asked if I wanted a code, I hesitated, I thought, well, if I get a code now, then I don't have to bother Dad a third time. I mean, the man's on vacation, really. It's the least I can do. So this time I press 1 for yes. Now, over the course of the next few weeks, I used my phone a little too much, messaging, calling my friends, calling other people, and I used that code a little too much too. But it was just a code. I wasn't using my dad's card anymore, I was using a code, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So I didn't stop. We get home to my mom from our vacation, and shortly after that, it's time to go back to school. A couple weeks after, we're back at my dad's, and while we're driving around in the car one day, he turns to me and he says, "Hey, Thibeau, I've been getting some charges on my card from a cell phone company, and I'm not sure where they're from. Do you know anything about it?" "No, I don't, Dad." "Okay, because I'm about to go to the police and press charges, so if it was you, now would be a good time to tell me." Now I start to panic a little. Does he know I did it, and he's just trying to trick me into admitting I did it? I mean, he knows someone did it, but there's no way he knows I did it, right? Nah, I'll be fine. So I just went, "No, Dad, it's not me, I swear. I didn't do it." And he said, okay, and we kept going. A few weeks later, I'm at my new girlfriend's house, and I get a call. It's my dad. "Hi, Thibeau. I just got off the phone with the police, and they found out my credit card was used on your phone and that you're responsible for the theft." Shit. And my heart sank, really low. I felt awful. I didn't really know what to say. I tried to apologize, but he wouldn't have it, and he just said, "I told your mother. She's waiting for you at home." The whole way home was awful. I had knots in my stomach. I wanted to throw up. It was terrible. But honestly, the real pain came when I got home, and I saw the look of disappointment in my mom's eyes, anger and sadness at the same time. I don't know. It was my dad's money I had stolen, but it was my mom I felt I had betrayed, and she never looked at me that way before. She just walked me to my room, and she looked at me and she said, "I thought I could trust you. I guess I was wrong." And she closed the door. And I cried that whole evening, regretting what I'd done and wishing I could go back in time so I wouldn't make the same mistakes again. And I got punished for the next few days, but then it was time to go back to my dad's again. And he'd had a couple weeks to cool down, so he accepted my apology and things went pretty smooth. But we did have to go to the police station because, well, even though he wasn't pressing charges anymore, they still needed to take my photos and my prints down. Yeah. And I think my dad never really got angry at me because he knew that experience would set me straight. And it did. I never did anything like that again. I mean, who wants to have their mugshots taken at 15? Anyone? Now, I always told my dad I used those minutes to call my friends during the holidays. And that was true at the beginning, for sure. But I have a bit of a confession to make. Most of those minutes I used to call a sex hotline. Yeah, you know the kind, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I guess I was curious. I'd seen ads in phone books and magazines, and out of curiosity, I wanted to happen what happened on the other end. And so one night, hiding under my blanket, I called. And to be honest, I was a bit disappointed to find out it's just a recording of a lady saying just random sexy things. Now, maybe the first time I called, it was like out of curiosity. But the second, third, fourth, maybe 24th time, not so much. But I was 15 and horny, and you gotta do what you gotta do, right? And yeah, I didn't tell the truth to my dad then, just because I was ashamed. And time passed, and I moved on. I mean, it's been about 20 years now, and I haven't really thought about it since. Until about 6 months ago, I got married. And my brothers and my sister did a speech together. And during that speech, that story came up, of course. And it was fine. Everyone had a good laugh, and it was all good. But later that night, I walked by as my dad is telling that same story to a few of my friends, with a little bit more detail. And as he finishes the story, he turns to me and he says, "Hey, Thibeau, I don't think you've ever told me what you used those minutes for back then." And I froze. I didn't know what to say. I thought, maybe now's the time, you know? I mean, maybe I should just tell him. It's been long enough. I shouldn't be ashamed anymore. But I am. And so I just looked at him and I said, I used them to call my friends dad. That's all. And so maybe he knows already. And yeah, it's possible. And he's just waiting for me to tell him. But I wasn't ready, you know? Maybe one day, if I have kids of my own and one of them does something so stupid they end up at the police station, maybe then I'll call him and tell him the truth. But I think I just need to work my way up to it. And I'll settle with telling you. Thank you.